Just pulling out of my favorite dock starting spot here, top secret. Got off a hot dock start session on a new foil, new board, and while I was driving home, I figured I'd give you a quick video on some thoughts on the Ensis Stride foil in Hip Hop Pro board. So this is kind of their standard dock start kit. They make it in a fancy carbon construction, which I really enjoy winging in their faster foils, but for this one, I wanted to lace up the more affordable stuff and just kind of give it the average Joe go and go for a rip. And I gotta tell you, I was pretty stoked. The kit, putting it together, you know, it was immediately apparent that, I'm just gonna handhold this, sorry guys. It was immediately apparent that the foil was super rigid and we probably weren't gonna have any issues with that stability or that flexation. The mast is super solid, and the mast foot has a section that goes up into the mast. It's a really tight tolerance that tightens that fitting up, and then it has that kind of Mike's Lab F1 code kind of connection, or it's not code, sorry, Duotone D-Lab kind of connection, where it's kind of that horseshoe shape that connects to the fuselage. So riding all those before, I knew that was super solid, and obviously I'd ridden the Ensis carbon before, but first rip on the aluminum setup. And then on the top plate, same kind of deal. It's got a little piece that goes up into the mast, and that's a nice tight tolerance. The mast top is really tight tolerance. You almost have to kind of pound it on there, which is a good thing, especially for these pump foils. They end up putting a lot of torque on the mast from those huge wings, all that forward lift. And then when you go to lean into them to get them to turn, or you're just pumping and you want that forward drive rather than that flexation, the stiffer they can get, the better to create that forward drive and give you some semblance of stability and maneuverability on such a huge foil. So yeah, putting it together, all thumbs up. Really nice. Torx M8 hardware, keep things nice and durable, low service, standard hardware you can buy anywhere. So really stoked on the kit so far. The Hip Hop board is quite small. This thing's the skate deck of foil boards. No more than you need, no less than you need. Just a nice shape. If your feet land on the board, they're probably in a pretty good position, because you can't really land on the board with both feet and be that far out of position because it's relatively small. So in that regard, it's cool. It gives you a good perspective over the water. You know where your wings are, where your mast is in relation to the dock, because the board's not blocking your view. And then it gives you, you know, kind of that aim small, miss small target when you're jumping on the board. So it's interesting. I wasn't sure how I was going to like the really, really tiny board, but it's great. It's big enough where you can adapt your stance, and it's big enough where you can get a little wider offset on it to gain some extra leverage on this big foil if you want to rip a turn. But yeah, just a really nice design altogether. As you'd expect from the guys at Ensis, they really do a good job in the R&D department and make sure they're putting out quality gear. The build of the board seems really solid. It's not crazy feather light in that it feels fragile. It feels super durable. I'm heavy and I've been slamming on it all day, and it looks brand new still. It feels still just as lively as when I started with this board. It's got some nice carbon tracks, drop entry from the rear, so you don't need to unscrew the screws entirely every time. It makes assembly and disassembly really quick. I'm fortunate enough to have the big cab in the back, so I can put it in complete on a, but if I really want to squeeze it in, it's really easy to pop the board off the mast, and then the plane or the front wing off of the mast to really break it down for quick travel and minimal reinstallation time when you go back out to hit it again. So yeah, quality board. quality complete kit. You can tell it's kind of designed together because it feels great how it's intended as a kit. So really stoked on that. Mast position wise, I kind of just guessed at it. First run, I was about 3.5, 4 inches forward from the very back of the board. And you can put this mast way, way, way far back on this board because the tracks go all the way out the tail. So that's cool. If you're a heavier or a larger rider, excuse me, or somehow you're needing your front foot that far forward because of your stance or something, even on this tiny board, you can really adjust it and get your feet where they want to be on the board, and then have the foil, positioned accordingly. So that makes things, set it and forget it. It worked great for me there. I wouldn't change it. So that's going to be kind of my standard spot, I think. Just right there, my feet landed in the right spot, felt great. So that's the money spot for me, and I think for most riders really on these pump foils. A lot of times your stance, center of your stance isn't changing that much. You might have a wider stance or narrower stance, but really that sweet spot is pretty focused on where you want the center of balance to be and where that pump to start and end. So anyway, all that stuff, thumbs up. Coming off the dock, I gotta say this foil is really easy. It doesn't want to overfoil when you're pushing it. It flies nice and flat, so you don't get that issue where you're running up on it and the foil wants to ventilate and hit the surface. It comes off really flat and clean, so when you're coming off the end of the dock and jumping, it's not going all different kinds of places on you. It really just kind of holds its course really nice. This is the first time I've ever really gotten on a brand new board and foil combo and had some immediate success, which is saying something because I'm not a dockstart master. I don't do this every single day. I don't even do this every single month most of the time. So for me to have that immediate success, I think says a lot about how intuitive and easy this foil can be. It's not the fastest on the market. It's not the slowest. It's somewhere in between. So I think it's a nice happy medium. As compared to other pump foils that I've ridden similar to this one, it did feel rather speedy. Once you got it moving, it was really easy to accelerate and pump out of a hole, which is great. If you make a little mistake or you need to slow down to kind of adjust your balance or make a turn, you can give it a couple of quick pumps and pick it back up. So it's fantastic, super easy to use, easy to pump. For average rider, I would put the weight range on this for pump foiling, maybe 150 to 225 pounds or so. Maybe a little higher than that if you really know what you're doing. You've got some practice under your belt. But it's super solid. It can definitely take more weight than I have at about 195 pounds today. So that's great. A lot of pump foil setups feel like I'm kind of pushing the limit of weight in terms of the stability and durability of the kit. So I'm happy to report if you're a heavier rider, there is at least one option out there and a couple more probably as well. But really, really stoked on this kit. I think they really hit it out of the park with the price point. You're getting a much higher level performance and product versus what you would get at this price point for most other brands. I think normally you're going to have to spend, close to $3,000 to get this kind of performance and quality. So 2 thumbs up to Ensis for really, thinking about that and not just making a high performance, high price product, but also, something that the everyday Joe can kind of afford and enjoy. So thanks for that, guys. Really think you nailed it, and it's going to be in the budget. For most pump foilers, if you have the budget for a new pump foil setup rather than used, this is definitely one to look at. In terms of nitpicks, things I didn't like about this foil, there's not a lot. Board foil combo is phenomenal. It comes nicely done. It comes with front and rear wing covers, fuselage cover. So, it has all the included accessories. It's quality stuff. I did have one of my screws that the female threads were a little bit gummed up, I think probably from the painting process. So I got one screw kind of lodged in there a little bit, first assembly, pulled it out, ran a quick tap through it, ran the screw in and out of it. That cleared it out. I think it was probably just a random anomaly, but something to mention. If you get a screw that feels a little tight, pull it out, inspect it, clear it out before you force it. Don't force it. The aluminum can be bent and warped, and that's not good for anybody. And you might end up having to do some surgery on the screw to get it out if you really get it lodged in there or broken off. So yeah, with any foil it can happen for sure, and we see it frequently, but it's just something to be aware of when you're assembling foils. Don't force the screws. Something's not right, you probably got the wrong screw, or there's something gumming up the threads or something. Take a look at it, go slow. In terms of use outside, its intended use, pump foiling and tiny wave foiling, wake thieving, all that kind of stuff. I would say it's fast enough to really enjoy on a real light wind day. Wing foiling, para-winging, sup foiling, maybe even downwinding. If you really want something that gets up easy, you know, and you want to be able to pump it around, that's going to do the job well for you on that front. So that's that, I suppose. I'm pulling up at home and gonna go milk the cows, visit the animals, hang with the fam. But stoked on a day where I normally would sat at home or found something boring to do, to be able to get out to the dock and have a great time, get some exercise, work on my pumping technique, and really enjoy what the day has to offer here. So hopefully you guys can do the same. And if y'all have any questions about pump foils, about Ensis products, the Stride foil, or the Hip Hop Pro board, hit us up here at the shop. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have and get you set up with your next kit, whether it's this one or something else. This has been Tucker with MACiteboarding.com. We'll see you next time.